really happy that you're with us today. And I just wanted to ask you about what you did before Right at Home. So tell us your personal story. What did you do before franchising, and why did you decide that this model was something that you wanted to get involved in?
Yeah, so I have lived in Maine for 15 years. As everyone can probably hear, I do not have a Maine accent. I have a Texas accent. So I was raised in Texas. And 15 years ago, my husband was transferred here to Maine for his job. And so we moved up here and just fell in love with the community. We've raised our 4 kids here, all through the Winthrop School District. And so we lived here, and we recently, in the last 3 years, purchased another business. And so my husband's no longer with the company that moved us up here. So we own a IT company. And so just kind of my background with everything that happened with COVID over this past couple of years, the COVID pandemic, as many people, it really changed my life. And during that time, my mother-in-law passed away, and my mother-in-law lives in Florida, and she did not pass away of COVID. It was a different illness, but she died rather unexpectedly. And as it often happens when people live far away, we traveled down there for the funeral, and we were able to really sit and talk with our family, which, doesn't happen as often as it should. And so we began to talk with my sister-in-law, and she owns a Right at Home in Tallahassee, Florida. And she just had really great things to say about the business and what she's been doing. And she told us that there was no Right at Home franchise in Maine. And she was like, hey, you guys should look into that. And I was like, oh, no. That is not something that I want to take on, because, we were already kind of busy with our other business. And I just kind of put it in the back of my mind and didn't really think much more about it. But as life often happens, we were on vacation and we were driving. We had gone on vacation to Florida at a later date, and we were driving home, and I got the phone call that no one wants to get from my brother, that my parents had contracted COVID, and my brother was about to take my dad to the ER because he was not doing well at all. And so it just happened that we were in Newark, New Jersey, and I jumped on my phone. I got a plane ticket, and we pulled up to the airport, and in less than 2 hours, I was on a flight down to Houston to help my brother out. And it just really opened my eyes. My brother lives down the street from my parents, but he works full time. His wife works full time, and they have 2 very active children, as many people can relate to. And he was doing all he could, but my parents needed 24/7 care at that moment because they both were very, very ill. And so I walked in and just took over everything and cared for my parents for about 8 days. And they did, thank goodness, recovered, and they're fully recovered now. But it was really scary because they were very sick. And so going back home, I just started thinking about, I am thousands of miles from my family, and they are getting older, and they are going to need more and more help as they age. And I just started looking around our community, and I just thought, this is something that I really need to look into. And so I remembered the conversation I had had with my sister-in-law, and we really got serious about looking into the brand. And of course, we just fell in love with Right at Home. Everything that they stand for is something that's it aligned with our values. And so we moved forward with the process, and that has brought me here today. And so
why do you connect so well with the mission statement?
Well, the mission statement of Right at Home is that we want to improve the quality of the lives of the people that we serve. And that is awesome. And that is exactly what I want to do. But I also want to take that a step further. And I want to treat your loved one like I would want my loved ones treated in Texas. When I put a caregiver in your home, I want people to know that I understand what it's like to not be able to physically be there to care for that loved one that's having, that's just needing a little bit of extra assistance in order to stay in their home. And I know what that feels like, to really want to be there, but not to physically be able to be there. So I just want to provide that family-like care to your loved one here. And I'm just a person that really understands that, you long to be there and you want to be there, but it's not always possible.
And you would like to put someone that's just like you right in the home. You want your parents to be taken care of, just like you would take care of them for those 8 days. I've been there.
Yeah.
Many of us have. We're in this generation where we have all of these aging baby boomers and not enough care. And they want to stay in their homes because they're independent and fiercely independent and active. Some of them are still active. And so what a need.
Community feel.
And tell me what you're going to bring to the community as a business owner.
Well, I am hoping that with Right at Home, that again, like kind of what I said, that I just have an understanding of, what it's like to have elderly relatives that live far away. And so a lot of times kids move away and their families are still here. And so I can come in as a neighbor, as almost like a pseudo family member, to help your loved one manage daily activities of living, just to give them some companionship, check on them and let you know how they're doing, even whether you're down the street and just having to work full time or whether you live somewhere out of state.
And so what excites you most about the brand? Because I've heard you talk about the mission statement and how much you just relate to that. But, what excites you about corporate office and the people that you've worked with and the brand itself?
I think it's the very close knit feel of the company, and their just people first attitude. So no matter who I talk to, they seem very interested in who I am as a person. They want to find out what's unique about me, and then they want to find out exactly how they can help me. And so I feel so confident starting this business, even though I don't have a background in home health or any of our healthcare. I don't have a background in that, but I have a strong support system that's behind me and that is supporting me. And they are bringing content matter expertise, to me, like marketing and, anything that I need to know legally, so that I'm making sure that I'm following all of the state regulations. They just bring a lot of expertise on content matter. So I don't have to be an expert on everything, but I know who is, and I can pick up the phone and call them. So.
Wonderful. And so let's look a few years down the road. What do you hope to achieve with your business?
I hope that I am on everyone's mind. And when I hope that what I can do is help people to begin to have those conversations with their aging loved ones. And so that it's not, I would hope that we can get to a point where people are calling me and it's not an emergency situation. They had a plan in place. They've noticed a need. Their relative has a need. Their loved one has a need. Their neighbor has a need. And they already kind of know who to call and what services that I can provide. So I would just like to, hopefully, as I learn more myself and as I grow as a business, I'm hoping that I am a resource for people in our community so that when they do have questions about aging, if they do have some need, I can point them to us. If I can't meet that need, I can point them in the direction of who can, and I can just help them and walk alongside family members and the elderly person that I'm serving. I can walk alongside of them and go with them on their aging journey. Just kind of take a little bit of the fear and uncertainty out of that.
I love that. And I love your heart about it. And so tell me, you're a mom, right? First,
I
you've
am,
you've
yes.
had this life and you've supported your children. And like me, we're at this point in our lives where, gosh, we're pivoting. What would
Mhm.
you say to someone who is thinking about starting a franchise, whether it be a home franchise or a different franchise? What would you tell them as far as advice goes? And then more about that model and why they need that.
Well, and I have a unique experience. My husband and I purchased a business, and it was a great experience, but it was really just my husband and I figuring out the ins and outs and walking through the transition that we made, and so we've really had to dig for the information that we've needed to run our business. And so I would say if you're thinking about opening a business, a franchise is just a great way to go because you don't have to be an expert on everything. If there is something that you're not familiar with or that you need a little bit more training, you've got that support. And of course, I would recommend Right at Home as a brand because they just are excellent at it. They've been doing it for a number of years and they've got the system down. And so you've got checklists, you've got things that you've got a wealth of information, and you also have other franchises that you can call, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So if you're having an issue with something, it's pretty certain that somebody else has had that issue and has had a successful process in order to come to a good end with that. So that's why
Yeah.
I really would recommend, franchising. And I think you have to be careful with,
Mhm.
which franchise you choose because, like everything, they're different. And so you have to find one that really aligns with your particular values and what you're looking for.
Love that. Great advice today. Well, Debbie Corgan of Central Maine with the Right at Home. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.